judging the police officer who, in my mind, murdered George Floyd. And if my judgment of him is that he's a murderer, what do I need to look at in myself or deal with what's happening in my experience?
We would say that within life, there will always be those experiences that are of a low measure, and that there is not the higher caliber within the action. And so we would also say that the individual is moving from a posture of being less than and is not giving the love, the respect, and the quality of life to another that they would want to ask for themselves. And so when these things happen, there is no plausibility or rightness of an action that is of a lesser or lower quality, and quite frankly, not befitting any life to treat a life as was treated. For each life is holy and to be treated in a reverent way, because all are an aspect of source energy. All are an aspect of the same universal source energy from one to the other. And as we shared recently, there are those dynamics that were put into play within life so that there is a diversity within the mix of all life. For if all life were, in a manner of speaking, the same, then there would not be the opportunity to experience life as was preferred. For in the uniformity or consistency of life that was more meted and measured, there was not the full totality of understanding how it would feel to be in one regard versus another. And so it is the awareness then that is sought in the time of such an occurrence. For in the awareness, each in that postured state would know that this was not worthy of either life stream, the perpetrator or the one who was diminished in a manner of speaking by the one who did not respect life, did not respect another in their path, but let something lesser than take hold. And we would say perhaps that there was something underfoot that has propelled many things within this time to proceed, as this is a unique time. As we have said, there is much underfoot and more that will be underfoot. And so we do say that it is in the posture of Martin Luther King that did move in a manner of loving embrace as he represented those he did speak on behalf of. And he did it from a posture of love, reverence, nonviolence, and moved in life in a manner that was most reverent. And you see, he made great impact from the measures and the methodology that he did then engage. And so that is lacking at this time. There are many postures moving forward that are perceived to be, or elicited to be, what they are not. For violence does not beget more violence in a manner that is making anything healthy and whole. And looting and stealing does not in any way benefit the one whose life was taken. These are measures of ego and a needy aspect which is in play today. And so we would say that when you have someone who is of the caliber that moves from the heart center and elicits love as his calling card, then he does draw together, and there is significant movement in a beneficial direction. That is not so today. And so when there is only anger, when there is only an angst of energy that reverberates from an action that was not only unnecessary, but of no value to the circumstance and was not warranted and is never warranted, quite frankly, then there must be a measure that then does buoy up the masses, that does buoy up and move the masses to work together, because there is the perception oftentimes of something that is not. There is a perception oftentimes in casual conversation that is perceived with the understanding that is not the true intent of the communicator. And so there is a misunderstanding that results, not deeply and not terribly miscommunicated, but with a degree of angst, with a degree of quizzical wonderment for what was truly intended, when there was not the understanding as it was postured. And so there is misunderstandings elicited left and right. And there is an energy that is prevalent now where there is not the desire to work one with the other, but rather to be in a space of less than, and we would say, an anger of significance. And so as you move about, it is important to recognize that those who look to you, and each of you here, that you move in a different way than the masses are aligned to do. That you become the awareness, that you become the conscious awareness of all that is, recognizing that injustices do exist and have existed in all time. And sometimes there is a measure of knowing that this thing is not preferred in a significant way. And it does then turn a trajectory and turn the tide for change to be forthcoming. But within each, we would say that there must be change on both sides of the field. For there is not the preference for change oftentimes. And so it is difficult to enlist because many do not see what they need to change from and to. And so when you recognize that you can be the change in so many ways by the way in which you respond to these things. And it is not inappropriate to say that you do not prefer what occurred, or who would think that something such as this would be preferred. And so it is a travesty on all levels. But it is something that has occurred, and from it, there is the ripple effect. And many have then moved to enact this or that, which also not of a high caliber. And then what has resulted is a fracturing and a fear and a need to enlist change. But the change that must move forward is that change which is aligned through a posture of love, through a posture of wanting for another because they are as important as the other. Because each are connected. Each are a part of universal source energy. Each are a brethren to the other. And there needs to be a greater understanding for why would we hurt or incite anything against one that is, in many regards, part of us. And so you see, our energy, your energy, all energy is that which it is and are interconnected. And so know that the Maya that does exist here is for a purpose. For at what point do you say, enough is enough? I have had it with these rounds of incarnation, for they are fraught with things I do not prefer. They are fraught with things that are energetically not in accordance with what I might manifest. I wish to get about my business so that I might be all that I might be and enact that thing which I came to earth to experience, so that I might move back in a more ethereal way onto other endeavors. How long must you be on this planet and go through these trivial pursuits? And we do not mean to minimize this one's passing, but many have passed. Many more will pass. And at what point do you realize that this is the script? This is what happens. Within life, there are plagues. There are different occurrences that are not preferred. And at what point do you say, I no longer wish to participate in these rounds of incarnation because I know what already I do not prefer. And I want to get about my business so that I can return from whence I came. This is what we long to hear. This is what we wait to hear from those who are within this earth plane. For there is always going to be and will be those things that do not align and are not of a preferred energetic vibration, because this is the density in which you now exist. And you now know differently. You now know that there is more to the puzzle. And now you have key components of the puzzle for which we wish that you would focus upon more intently. For when you decide that it is time to roll up your sleeves and to say no more with these rounds of incarnation where thus and such happens that I do not prefer. now I must get about my business to enact that thing that I came here to experience so I can be off of the rounds that have tethered me here. This is what we long to hear. And this is our reason for being with this one who does communicate our words. For we want you to be free. We want you to be free from the tethers of this earth quadrant. For you have been here, many of you, for a time. And isn't it time to enlist measures that will move you from one trajectory to another that is more of light and love? And so we wish to take off the blinders. We wish to take off the mask and the inability to see what is so evident now that you know that you can get about your business and to move about and to do things that will enable you to no longer be tethered to things that you do not like, that you do not want to experience. For how much do you need to experience in these rounds in order to say enough is enough? So we move back from this posture, but we want you to know that this is firmly felt, but deeply with love. For we want you to know that there will always be those things that are not just, those things that are not preferred, those things that are unwanted in this dimension. For this dimension is full of the Maya that does exist here. And yes, it is right and true to move away from those things unpreferred. But at some point, we hope that you look at the overarching premise of what we wish for you to see, because we know it is time. We believe it is time, and we are ready to roll up our sleeves to help you move forward in all that you seek to enact in this lifetime and beyond.